What do we need to know about the phrase long term, how that relates to recovery and how that relates to life? When I used to hear for the long term by parents, by people at school, by teachers, I used to think, that's bloody boring. I don't give a damn about that. I want to know about short term. Why? Short term is something you can grasp. It feels at arm's reach. It feels exciting, and it feels like like it's got an emotional pull 10 times the long term. Why? Long term you don't get today. It feels a long way off, so not guaranteed. And it's just so far out of view that you can't even sort of grasp it. I remember seeing a guy being interviewed years ago in a documentary, and it was about being an entrepreneur. And he was in a situation where he had lots of different obstacles. And they said, how do you feel about those obstacles? He said, I don't worry at all. And the person interviewing said, well, why don't you worry at all? He said, I will win in the long term because of my habits and persistence are relentless, right? And he was saying it from a position of a bit of frustration and anger because of the difficult cards he'd been dealt in that situation. But that was his position on the short-term problems he was facing. I watched an interview with athletes, many interviews, with injuries, having surgeries. How do you feel right now, considering you're now out for the next year? I'm frustrated, of course, but I'm going to come back with a vengeance. And what I've learned from this, I'm going to be a master of my craft even more. And I was thinking, God, what great attitudes. Look how he's calm. He's just drinking that coffee, just lying in bed, just had a surgery. He's out for the whole year. And he's just completely calm. If you watch the greats, what I mean by the greats are the people that are consistently great over years, decades. They have that mindset. Relentless, as in they're ferociously passionate about where they're going, but they're calm, focused, dedicated. Now, the long-term approach is exactly that. The short-term appeals to the person who's going to jump left, right, and center and jump ship in 2 seconds, right? It's like, for example, if you said today you were ruling country and you said, I need 1,000 men to fight to the death, people would jump forward. I'll fight to the death. Why? Because fight to the death is short-term in the mind. I will give everything, and even if I die for my cause, I'm a hero. People will do that. They will jump to that. If you phrase it as this, I need 1,000 people who are going to fight on and off for the next 20 years with no guarantees of success, a grueling long on and off battle, not seeing family, probably going to be family and financial ruin. Who wants to sign up? Barely anyone. Why? Long term doesn't have that short-term emotional kick. And there's the problem. The short-term emotional kick is what people are looking for because it feels relatable, feels like something can be grasped at arm's reach in a second. This is the same as most impulsive decisions, and why when you walk through Primark or you walk through different shops, as particularly when I went to Primark, you walk past what do you see before the counter? Chocolates, sweets, novelty gifts. You're in a queue. You're frustrated, you're in a queue. What's the opposite of frustration? High sugar content, some novelty gift, bang, you purchase something, right? All these things are emotional, short term. So we live in this culture today of that. We look at celebrities and influencers who you hear, oh, this person has just made tens of millions a year doing some viral video or some boxing match with no skills, no talent. We live at that time. The things that have the long-term talent then get dismissed by the short-term nonsense because the short-term nonsense can't level up to the long-term talent So it dismisses it as long-term and boring, whilst the culture and the society becomes a society of gambling. If you look at crypto, what happens? Most people going in for high-risk altcoins, ending up with nothing. Crypto gambling. Disaster. Complete disaster for most people. You look at how people set up businesses and social media. They set up an account. They look for a high following. They look for, oh my God, I've got this number of followers. How many people? I was in a restaurant maybe about 9 months ago. And the person I was having dinner with said, oh my God, look behind you on that table. And I said, what is it? And they said, oh my God, that's somebody there. They're really famous on Instagram. They have 9 million followers. Right. That person on the other table, I ended up speaking to, and we ended up having a drink, all of us, for a few hours. They were struggling. They were not doing as perceived. They were finding both keeping the content up to the level of the 9 million followers a torturous cycle, because the algorithm could change at any minute and their life could be plunged into uncertainty. They were not doing anywhere near as well as people presumed. And it was basically hype that everyone around them thinks, oh my God, this is incredible, but they knew the reality. The problem in today's world, people get bored very quick. So there is a million new singers, rappers, influencers. To be an influencer today and sustain popularity for 10 years is the most impossible thing. And people don't even realize that. They see the high level influencers and then they think, oh my God, that person is making a fortune, they're doing so well. And then they drop off because there is no substance there. There is no long term there. And that is the problem, because people are chasing instant with less and less substance. You have to ask yourself, what is the substance? Because substance stands the test of time, even if the times are full of short-term nonsense. The substance still cuts through. Let's give an example of that in something that we all know. If you go to a gym, you eat good food, you take no supplements, you work out 6 times a week, and you stick to that for years, are you probably going to be in great shape? Yes. If you watch every video on fitness and nutrition, and you take all the supplements, you work out poorly, you skip the gym when you're feeling tired, and you spend most of your time watching videos on fitness, are you going to be in good shape? Probably not. The other day, I was traveling, and I went to one of the top sort of bodybuilding gyms in the world, a huge sort of 60,000 square foot powerlifting and bodybuilding gym. And I went there, and inside there was a big MMA section. It was an MMA ring. And I looked at some of the trainers, and they were sort of covered in tattoos, scars, really dedicated to their craft. And seriously, you could see that the way they were doing it, they were obsessed in what they did. And I imagine they were very good at what they did. But then I looked at the class that was going on in the ring, and it was unbelievable. It almost looked like a circus. It was a lot of young guys that I could see were obsessed with MMA and watched MMA all the time, all not in great shape, all throwing the worst punches I'd ever seen in my life, all talking amongst each other and being more swept up by the fact that they were doing some MMA, and were just completely useless. If I had to pick out of 10,000 people, some people to go into a ring to do MMA, they would be the last 0.1% of people I would have chosen. Completely lost, completely obsessed with the notion of MMA, but no grit, grind, or substance at all. And that is the problem with so many things in the world today, because the substance is lacking. That substance that you need, right? It's like when you look back at quotes through history, what's the famous quote of Oscar Wilde? People know the price of everything and the value of nothing. And we live in a world like that very much today. If you walk past an expensive car on the street, some young kid will be like, bruh, that car is like $260,000. Yeah? Just did Nick's impression there. Impression of Nick, his accent. And basically, that's not even good enough in today's world. Somebody else will say, but yeah, you see cars like that a lot. You know, that's not a lot now, bro. You need a Bugatti. That's going to be like $3 million. That's not cool. And it's like, hold on. Forget everything that has just been said there. If I was 10 years old, 12 years old, 14 years old, and I walked down the street and I saw a car that was shiny, clean, fast, you'd be like, wow. Now, no. Because influencers, they see all this stuff all the time. And influencers saying stuff all the time, like, unless you have Bugatti, you're not as successful or whatever, junk. And then basically people start thinking that. And they are forgetting the realities of life. And this becomes a huge problem because the substance is missing. And I see it all the time. I see it in young people. I'm very concerned for a lot of young people. When a lot of young people ask me about the gym, they're like, bro, should I take this supplement? Should I take that? I say, forget all the supplements. You shouldn't even be watching a podcast. You shouldn't be taking any supplements. You should just be going into the gym and working out for 5 years and then come back and ask me, right? Because that's the reality of it. Now, how does that relate to OCD recovery? Well, it relates exactly the same, identically, because the poor habits and the social constructs of today's society are negatively affecting OCD recovery hugely. People come into me, their mum rings me, hi Rob, I'm really concerned about my son. Understandable, very difficult having OCD. I really want to get him started with a package. Understandable, good plan, as in a structured plan of he's going to be coming in this session. He doesn't get out of bed a lot. He watches a lot of podcasts, but has he got a job? No. He's very anxious, so he stays in bed most of the time. Understandable because of the nature of the disorder. However, the life skills are sounding pretty bad to start with, and why? Because although there is the disorder, which is disabling and will lead to that problem, in having worked with 35,000 people plus over the years, I've never really seen anyone who couldn't walk, right? And just to put myself in the position of the point I'm making, I had physical anxiety so bad sometimes, palpitations used to race out my chest. I'd be sweating. Walking used to feel painful because I had lots of symptoms that were sort of mimicking fibromyalgia. I could walk. If you can lay in bed all day, you can sit in a chair. If you're sitting in a chair all day, you can kneel, you can crawl, you can walk. Those are the levels up, right? So bed is always the worst place, okay? And the problem is, I have to then explain to the mum, look, these habits need to be engaged in. We need to make these changes now. And the mums are often a huge problem of this. Oh, but he's tired. He's got a lot on anxiety. It's very hard, you know, Rob. I know, but you ain't helping it. He's got no job. He doesn't get out of bed. He's left college, or he's going to college and not turning up. And he's not doing any of these things because you're allowing it, and you're too scared to say anything, right? And I can always see it, that very mopey energy that's not getting anywhere. And people will say to me, but Rob, that's very tough love. This is not tough love. This is not tough love. People think tough love today. What people think is tough love is not tough love at all. It's just complete common sense, normal stuff that you need to do. It's like if I said to the average person today, okay, what suggestions have you got for life? Okay, you need to get a job. You're going to need to feed your family. You're probably going to have time for the gym at these times, which means you have to get up quite early. And you could get fired from your job. And you've got to look after all your family, and you're going to have to do that for years. A lot of people would say, oh, it's too tough. That's very tough love. That ain't tough love. That's reality. The reality of life is tough because life isn't forgiving. Humans can invent whatever they want it to be, how they want it to be comfy in their head. It ain't, right? Life kills. What do you mean, Rob? Well, Just because humans want the world to be a certain way, the world ain't, right? It's like looking at a lion and saying, don't eat me, I'm a nice person. Lion don't give a shit. It's eating you already, even when you're thinking that, right? And that's not tough love. That's the reality of life. Life is tough. You will learn it when you run out of money and you try and get on a bus. Get off the bus. But I just forgot my bus pass. Get off. I just need some food. No. Life is tough. But we are cocooned in safety of ideas. Oh, but I like it this way. They shouldn't talk to me like that. That's not really what I want. That is not in line with my values. I want to be like this. I want to be like that. Now, I'm sorry that that is not what you want it to be like. But the reality of life, it just is. Okay, it just is. And that is the reality of where recovery comes in. People come into me, and mums rang up, bought a package of sessions of, say, 10 sessions. They're coming in once a week. They've turned up to about 3 or 4 sessions. They've cancelled all the others last minute because they were too tired. Now time has gone on. Their 6 months has passed. I asked them, have they read the book? No joke. This isn't a joke. This is just reality. I say, have you read the first book on the reading list? And I literally get these answers. And these are word for word fact. Okay. What books? I didn't know there was a reading list. Yes, you did, because that's what we said right at the beginning. So you really, if you're not even reading the books, imagine you went to school or college and you said, hi, yeah, and I'm 6 months in, the exam's up next week. I've not read any books at all. They would literally be like, what have you been doing all this time? And I have to do that in my job because it doesn't get done. And it is so vital, because otherwise what happens is the same people who haven't read the books are going to turn around to me and say, but I don't know why I haven't recovered, right? So it's vital that we really grasp that. And these are the answers that I sometimes see. And I'm not joking here. Some people will come in once a week, once every 2 weeks for years. And I say, have you read the books? I've been busy, had too much on with the kids, been busy, we've got a holiday, been busy, it's Christmas, whatever. And then I've seen this multiple times, 4 years in. Have you read the books? I didn't even know there was a reading list, even if I've mentioned it maybe 8, 9 times. Which book? Do you mean that Ellie guy? No, I haven't read that, right? Or, yes, I've read the first book. Okay, what was the name of the first book? I don't know, some Ellie guy, not sure, it was good, but I found it gave me a bit brain fog. Right. Reading is going to be uncomfortable because OCD makes you feel locked up in your head. So reading is going to feel uncomfortable at times, feels like things aren't going to go in. Sometimes you have to read it again slowly, but not compulsively, because OCD is also going to mimic that and make it feel like nothing goes in your head. And you are going to have to go through the reading list. It took me multiple reads of the books to grasp some of the concepts to some level. So if you are skim reading it whilst watching Netflix, whilst watching Mr. Beast in bed, right? You ain't going to get there. You've got to be really realistic about that. I know how people want recovery to be. This is what they want recovery to be. Hi, welcome to my podcast. Have you tried eating this special vitamin drink? And have you tried that plus having an ice bath and then putting yourself in a flow state and then being an alpha male and then having your dreams come true? Recovery? Well, I'm sorry to break it to you. That is not the reality, right? The reality of OCD recovery is if you never take an ice bath, you never change your diet, right? And you just work on changing your perception, that's where recovery is going to happen, right? Nobody recovers with, I did loads of ice baths and working out in the gym, and that led to recovery alone or made up 80% of it. No. Good habits for structure of life, but by no means recovery. And trust me, I worked right in the core of that. Years before Wim Hof became famous with all the work he does now to do with breathing and the cold, right? He wrote for a blog that I used to have at the time, and I had him as a blog writer. He was barely known. I saw him on a BBC documentary called The Iceman. I emailed him at the time. I said, hey, Wim, I'd be interested in having you start writing for a blog. I've got some different famous writers on there that are people doing extreme things with their body, like Alain Robert, the Spider-Man, and other people that were other record holders. Very pleasant guy, great guy, and wrote some articles about his mindset and how he did things. Right. That was years ago. And I thought it was great. But by no means did I think, oh, that would lead to recovery. But because we live in an era today where everything is simplified in podcasts shared to the masses, people presume that these are save all things. It's like people who go to Amazon. How many emails do I get a day from people saying, hey, Rob, I'm going to go to the Amazon, or I've just come back from the Amazon. I did this special retreat. I feel hopeless. Nothing happened. And I had the worst panic attack of my life. All day, every day, from mums, daughters, sons, mums about their sons, mums about their daughters. Oh my God, she just went on this thing, this retreat. She's come back with the worst panic attack. Now she's got existential OCD. She met this shaman. She da. Disaster. And you can know it's a disaster from the beginning. People slow down and just so often if you write out on paper what your ideas are, you start to see when they're nonsense, right? Imagine just writing out on paper. I want to fix my mental health, OCD, which has been a challenging condition for all the time humans have been around. I know what I will do. I will go to Amazon, meet shaman, do this for 2-3 weeks, then be recovered and back to normal life. Does that sound normal on paper? Does that sound reality like it's going to work? Absolutely not, right? But in a podcast segment, it doesn't sound like that. So how did you become so successful? Oh, well, actually, man, I went to Amazon rainforest and I did da-da-da-da. And then I felt empowered. It gave me this insight and I came back and made a Hollywood movie with my pals in LA. No, that can sound like that in those shows. You know, the same as when a celebrity loses loads of weight and then they say, how did you do it? Well, actually, I just brought out my book and my video and I did it eating the Oreo diet, which means just Oreos or some nonsense like that. And suddenly people are like, wow, I like Oreos. And what? I only have to eat those. Well, I like Oreos and that's more fun than the other stuff. And it doesn't involve hard work. Not really. But let's be real now. There is a little bit of hard work. What did you do? Oh, I hopped on one leg in a circle for a couple of months and then I got better. Right. That, unfortunately, is the reality of how these things are. Right. Think about people watch like Logan Paul and Jake Paul and these influencer guys do a boxing fight and, oh my God, he made that much money. Oh my God, that's what I need to do. I heard a cab driver say to me the other day, he said, my daughter wanted, or his friend's daughter wanted to drop out of medical school to be an influencer. And I was saying, this is just a complete disaster. Like from a job which has got stable income for life, that you can basically go to any country in the world, you can join any team, you're respected, you're going to be able to help your family in all situations, most situations, financially, wherever you are in the world, and you have got a good respect in society, great for relationships, great for raising a family, and are helping people hugely. So I want to be an influencer, which we've got billions of anyway, and chances of that actually working for most or being anywhere near what they need to spend for a family is very, very slim. And that's a reality we're living in. And if I don't paint a quite blunt picture like this at times, people don't realize. And they think it. Like, it's like, think about the number of people now that are doing makeup blogs. Anytime I go out to a bar and I speak to a girl and I say, what do you do for a living? Like, not any time, but a lot of times. Oh, I have a makeup blog and here it is. And it's got millions of views. And they're very proud to show me. And I understand because they're putting in a lot of hard work to make that work. But 9.9 times out of 10, it doesn't make any money. It gets likes. One celebrity followed them once and there's no income, right? But why did they choose it? I like makeup. I like doing videos of makeup. Yeah, but so do most people, right? And that's the problem. It's like people saying like, do you like driving fast cars and taking pictures and showing people? Oh, I love that. Yeah, well, you could have a job that you work all day and you make an Instagram and you drive cars that don't belong to you, you rent them, and everyone thinks, wow, 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 and you make zero income. Do you still want that? There's a chance that you become successful. Yes, yes, yes. Is that better than your job serving hamburgers in a petrol station off the M1? Yes, I would rather that. Yet the job serving hamburgers, which is boring to a lot of for a lot of reasons, pays the bills and means that everything else is solved, right? In terms of the main problems in life, like being able to pay some rent, being able to get some food, and being able to sustain some relationship. And then you've also got the social media content, which is like, I don't want a guy who's got like less than this income. And then you've got the guys going, I don't want a girl who doesn't bring this to the table. All crap, all basic, complete junk. Relationships are not built on how much they're earning. People want relationships because they want someone, they want to know that the person usually has some job that's good enough that fends for them. And obviously through society, people who want more things, they might want better lives. So they look for somebody who's a bit wealthier, more and so on. But apart from that, social media has got these warped ideas of where people are like, I want my man to earn this amount, and it's a ridiculous number. And it's like, are you single? Yes. Have you been happy in relationships for the last 5 years? No. Right. What's probably going to make you happy in a relationship is if you meet someone that you really love and get on with, and you can sustain a relationship and pay the bills together. And if you want a higher life, then you can choose that, but not at the extent of cutting off all your relationships. And the same for the guys that come on the calls regularly. I don't want to go out. I don't want to do anything. I just want to focus on my grind. I want to make money and then I'll get a girl. What? So you're going to basically have no sex and no relationship for 10 years until you might become successful, but it's stacked 99.9% against you. Yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do because my influencers told me that. And they said that you need to do that to be famous and then you can have all the girls. Right. But you've currently got no girls and you've currently got no house, no job, and you're living at home in your mum's basement. There's probably a level up from there that you could achieve more easily if you were willing to drop the pride, take some job that pays the bills, and then start moving from that stage. Pride kills people's lives and jobs, right? I'm not talking to them again because they said that. I'm not taking that job. I see people quit 7 jobs, pizza delivery jobs, when they need the money just because of pride of a boss or something like that. No, that's not what you want to be doing, right? If you've got jobs, different jobs, and they've been offered to you and you really need them and the boss is a little bit rude or whatever, it's better to usually bite your tongue, get the bills paid and carry on with life. And these are life skills. I often thought, look, I work with OCD recovery so much, right? That's what my life mission is. But I've often also toyed with the idea of thinking about skills for life and people in the general sense and how we can get people living in this crazy world today about getting them back functioning and living well and being happy and being content with what they've got and doing helping people and doing that for people without OCD as well. But I'm not doing that. But I often feel passionate about that because of the state I see things in and the things I hear. And it's very, very sad to hear when I hear it. Like just the stories I hear all the time when I say to young people, I say, how's dating going? All guys are useless. No one on the apps is decent at all. And then I think, well, wait a minute, are all these guys useless? Then I speak to some of the guys and I think, fucking hell, I can see what a lot of these girls are complaining about and vice versa because of the things that you hear back. Some of these just ridiculous podcast ideas of I'm hustling all day long until I get to a position where I can be a multimillionaire. And until that point, there's no point in even going out on a date. And if I go on a date, it's got to be 50-50 and I need to ask her what she brings to the table. I mean, what a load of crap. This whole concept of what she brings to the table. If I even asked any girl on a date, something like that, she'd walk out in 1 second. How that's even a concept? Well, I'll tell you how these things have become a concept. Because people are unhappy with lots of things about their life and they want to put the problems onto the other individual. And unfortunately, we now have in society a lot of social media content where men and women are taking jabs at each other when actually they just want to be in love and they actually just want to come together and they actually want to just raise a family together. People, you think all your great grandparents, you think that everything matched up? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They raised a family. Raising a family is hard. They didn't do it perfectly. They didn't have the perfect job, but you don't need all that perfect. Look, if I go and walk into a bar or coffee shop now and I talk to 3 random people, right? If I really wanted to know all their political beliefs and all their habits, I probably, chances are 99.9%, I'd disagree with loads of things, right? But what happens? We get on well enough because in light conversation, humans tend to. If you put 20 random humans in a room, they find things in common, they get on with each other. If you put 100 humans in a room, they tend to have conversation. Some will fall in love with each other. Some will want to marry each other. Some will have sex with each other. Some will hate each other. Some will not want to talk to each other. And depending on group sizes, the reaction will change. I used to think this often at school. Why when one-on-one I get on with so many people, but then in groups of 3, 3 is a crowd, and larger, there can often be problems, right? Well, 3, you obviously have 2 that gang up on 1. 1 becomes the butt of the jokes. Larger groups, if you're a personality that can direct the conversation so that you're a leader, then you could benefit in that group. But if you're not, you could end up being pushed out. In one-on-one, people both have to equal things in conversation and balance things out because there's no others to change the power position. So therefore, one-on-one, you can learn lots about people. And I genuinely hold the belief that one-on-one with most humans, for pretty much all, if you talk to them one-on-one on a level on a lot of different topics, you can usually find common ground, even with the people that you despise the most. And people often really, especially in modern society today, they really need to think about that, is even if someone has got completely opposing political beliefs to you, they stand for things that you detest, you will find common ground on other things. What? No way. They're terrible. They're evil. Everything I hate about them. No. And this is one of the first concepts of acceptance, right? Because what you're seeing is when you are learning to see how humans operate, you learn to see that humans are trying to make themselves happy and make it through the day with the tools they've got to hand as best as they can. So they will have things that relate to you that will be the same. Maybe a struggle with owning their pet, maybe a struggle with their mother-in-law, and you will find common ground. We live in a society today where politics shares on social media, so it's a hot topic. People try and bring it up all the time. I've been to dinners many times where people are like, what's your political opinion on this? I'm wanting to probe and probe and probe. And I don't give a shit what the person's political opinion is. I want to eat dinner, I want to have a laugh, and I don't care. I'm not there for an in-depth political discussion. People hate that. They want to know your politics even more if you want to reserve the right to not share it, right? So you've got to think about life is more about just getting on, making it through life on this rock in outer space. People fall out with family over politics. I see it all the time. People come in, I don't speak to my family anymore because of the political position. You probably could speak to them and you don't need to bring up the political thing all the time. And them not agreeing with you on that, there's probably a million other things that would make the family situation work. I disagree, Rob. Those are really fundamental points. And if they don't believe in it, and my influencers that I follow, they said that you should stand your ground. Yeah, but realistically, if those political points aren't making a huge conflict every second of the day because it's not being brought up in conversation, you can probably get on with your family just fine. And that's the reality of it. And that's the reality of so many things in life. We live in a society that's very black and white and very extreme views. If I said to a lot of young people, hey, I've just taken a job at the gas station, I've just got a promotion and I got a bonus of X, people would say like, yeah, all right, mate, that's nothing special. I heard an influencer say that he bought a Ferrari in 1 month. Yeah, but 99.9% of people aren't that influencer, right? So therefore, my bonus at the gas station was actually pretty good, considering not everyone is getting a bonus at the gas station, right? And all these different aspects of life need to be taken into account. Otherwise, if you sit there all day comparing yourself, complaining internally about how things should be, and having warped views of how life actually is, you're going to feel very, very miserable. Very fast, right? Social media is going to make you think that everybody drives a Ferrari. And they even say those kind of things. You hear influencers say like, Yeah, but there's no reason you shouldn't have a Ferrari before you're 20 or you're just brokey or some crap like that, right? Which basically puts down the whole audience, right? And the reality is, just Google how many Ferraris were sold in the whole of the United States last year. And the number will be extremely low. And then count how many podcasts there are. There's 3.2 million podcasts in the world. And then you think how many of them talk about Ferraris and being financially free before the age of 20 or 30. And then just do the maths on the numbers that you see, right? And you will see that basically what you have been told doesn't make sense at all, because the numbers are vastly, vastly different. And then you start to get the reality of things. It's like the same as people who say, oh, I'm a trader, a day trader of crypto or stocks or whatever. The number of day traders of crypto and stocks that actually can pay the bills, pay for food for their family consistently over 10 years is extremely low. The stock market is more competitive than any sporting event, because of the number of people that invest in stocks. So the reality of social media, think about how many ads all day there are. Be a day trader, be this. Yes, great for the exchange platform that is promoting that idea, but terrible in reality for the person who is trying to be a day trader on that dream. So in your life, you want to be thinking about the reality, the substance, the long term that you are going to need. And the recovery journey is exactly that too. It's a skills for life. It is going to be hard, not easy. It is going to require perseverance and practice. It is not climbing Mount Everest. It is not rocket science. You can recover, but there is going to require grit, determination, and lots of things that you don't like. And it's going to require problem solving and difficulty. Often when people get annoyed on the journey, Rob, this is too hard, this is too this. It's not me who makes it hard. I did not invent OCD, and I did not invent what is needed to recover from OCD. Those were invented by the universe, right? Why? Because we live on a rock floating in outer space. OCD is most likely a genetic thing in our brain, which is pretty much probably just made from stardust. And then those genes, then you have OCD out of our control. And how you recover from it was just a law of nature. Just, okay, this is how recovery will work from OCD, the same as penicillin works for with antibiotics for bacteria. So you then look at those principles and you say, well, these are my lot, this is my lot, these are my cards. I am going to now work towards recovery and do what's necessary because I haven't got another choice, because you haven't. People, we often do that. I did this along the journey. But it shouldn't be like this. It should be another way. That is whining. It doesn't do anything. Whatever it is, it is. It's like saying, I'm going to recover from this flu by eating this pillowcase. Well, that's obviously not going to work, right? As much as I might want a pillowcase to solve a cold, it's not going to work, right? You have to do what works, and even if it's uncomfortable. And that's the only way. But the good news is you can recover. And the same as the good news is about careers, is that usually if you get a job of some sort, you can usually pay the bills to put a roof over your head. And that usually means that if you adapt your personality to be a bit positive and a bit grateful day to day about things, you'll probably sustain a relationship, even if you're financially well off or not. And you'll probably have sex, you'll probably have a family, and you'll probably eat food, have a glass of wine, and go to bed. And that is what happens. And if you look at the animal kingdom, humans make so much noise about all the obstacles in life, which there are many, and there's reason to be annoyed about. But if you look at the animal kingdom, do they manage to have kids, eat in a lot of cases? Yes. They also do get killed. They also do have their family killed. They also find it hard to get food. But in a lot of cases, they do it. They don't make much noise about it. Cat has a family, has kittens, gets on with the job, makes do, and that's just life. But we, oh my gosh, we make a lot of noise about it. Now, that doesn't mean there isn't a lot of noise to make at times when we're frustrated, we're angry, and the obstacles in life, because life has many obstacles, and rightfully so. And for many generations, they never spoke about those obstacles, and things are very hard, very hard. But we also have a great ability at adapting. And since the beginning of time, we've made do and we've got things done and we've managed to do it, right? All the obstacles you've faced in your life so far to this point of listening to this audio clip today, you've overcome. If you hadn't, you wouldn't be alive. So you have overcome. You've still managed to eat. You've still managed to get up. You've still managed to breathe. You've still managed to make it through every disease and illness to this point. You've still managed to be able to eat food, pay for food, whatever. So your ability so far of getting that done has succeeded. So it's really important that you think of a lot of these points not as tough love, but as reality.